Hey, I'm here in front of the early Ford V8 Foundation Museum, a museum dedicated to Fords of the Flathead era. It's actually a really nice museum and well worth the stop. Let's go take a look inside. First, I want to point out that a part of the building is a scale model of the Ford Rotunda. This was Ford's building that was built for the 1933 World's Fair in Chicago and then moved to Dearborn. It burned down in 1962. The main part of the museum is a really good representation of Fords of almost every year throughout the whole Flathead era. It all started here in 1932 with the world's first mass-produced affordable V8 engine. In the words of Henry Ford, we didn't invent the 8-cylinder car. What we did is make it possible for the average family to own one. Ford had been working on the V8 for years in secrecy. To maintain secrecy, part of the development of the engine was actually done at the Thomas Edison Labs in Greenfield Village, away from prying eyes at the Ford factory. The 1932 V8 is referred to as the Model 18 because it's Ford's first V8 engine. First V8, 1-8, 18, get it? 32s are well represented at the museum, as you can see here. The almost Model A-like appearance of the 32 gave way in 33 to a major facelift. You see a more modern-looking front end with a pointed grille. There were also some engine tweaks and a longer wheelbase. This is actually the last year for the 4-cylinder being offered as an option. Ford is all V8 from here on in. I really like the Greyhound hood ornament that you see on some Fords of this era. It's really an upmarket look at a working man's price. And there's that stylish 33 grille. 34 saw more minimal styling changes, but the engine now included a forged crank and upgraded Stromberg 48 carburetor, increasing the horsepower to 85. There's the 33 there, and you can see it next to the 34. A little bit of changes in the hood louvers and the grille, but a very similar styling. Here's a 1935, and you can see we've had a major redesign. It's a more solid-looking car. If you're looking at the grille, the sides of the grille go straight up and down. If there's a little bit of a dog leg there around where the horns are, you're actually looking at a 1936. This 35 is a replica of the Indianapolis 500 pace car. Amelia Earhart was the honorary referee that year. If you see this grille, you know you're looking at a 1937. The engine carburetor was updated to a Stromberg 97, and the heads were redesigned for better cooling. There was an optional smaller V8 engine, but it never really caught on. They continued to offer it all the way up until 1941, and strangely, there is one in this truck. This truck is powered by the smaller 60-horsepower V8 engine. That means the original buyer of this 1937 was maybe a little thrifty. Seeing that front end means we've moved up to 1939. This is the year Mercury debuted, although this is a Ford. Mercury had its own version of the flathead V8. It was bored out to 239 cubic inches and made 95 horsepower. The regular Ford V8 still made 85 horsepower. In 1940, it did get this nice new grille, though. Boy, look at that Woody. Nice car. Here's a 1946, very closely resembling the 1942 through 45 models, a little bit different grille. Anyway, in 1942, the compression ratio was increased to boost horsepower to either 90 or 100. After the war, the bored-out Mercury engine became standard, and they all had 100 horsepower. Hey, Shoebox Ford, 1949, and next to it over there is a 1950. They're called Shoebox Fords for 49, 50, and 51 because they look like shoeboxes. Anyway, whole host of improvements on the 49 engine. The Mercury engine got bored out again, this time to 255 cubic inches, boosted it up to 112 horsepower. The 49 and 50 are really similar, but here you can see some differences in the grille. The 50 grille lights wrap around a little bit more. In the back, the trunk hinges are different. You can see the 50 has more streamlined trunk hinges. Beautiful 1950 Mercury here. People always refer to the 4950 Mercuries as the James Dean Mercuries because James Dean drove that 49 in that one movie. You know the one. Anyway, I sat in one of these for the first time years and years ago and immediately just fell in love with it from the inside. I would just dearly love to own either a 49 or a 50 Mercury. It's just a fast-looking car. Minor facelift here for 1951. You now have the option of automatic transmissions, either the Ford-O-Matic or Merc-O-Matic transmissions. The Ford-O-Matic would later evolve into the Cruise-O-Matic, which is my favorite transmission name ever. 1953 here would be the final year for the now long-in-the-tooth flathead engine. By this time, it was making 110 horsepower for a Ford and 125 for a Mercury. So we bid goodbye to the history of the flathead and look at some of the other items in the museum, like this nice cutaway transmission. That makes it, clear. Well, at least the cutaway rear end is a little bit easier to follow along in terms of what's going on. Next up, we've got one of those smaller V8s, the 60 horsepower ones that I was talking about that were discontinued. They actually lived on in Europe as the Simca Vedette and were produced as late as 1969. Hey, there's a 38. Anyway, the museum has a lot of other vehicles, and I was really taken with this school bus. It was built by the Novelty Carriage Company on a 1.5-ton truck chassis, and it can hold up to 10 passengers. I counted, and those 10 passengers would have to be very small, so maybe no high school kids in there. 1947 2-ton cab over. The cab over design, of course, allows for a shorter wheelbase, so you got a tighter turning radius. They're used in cities or cramped areas a lot. This one is a wrecker, so I can see where a tight turning radius would be an advantage for that line of work. They've got a whole display here of flathead marine engine conversion parts. It's just a reminder that there were so many companies making aftermarket bolt-on components for the flathead. That, coupled with the fact that flatheads were plentiful and cheap, made it ideal for race cars like this. Okay, well, maybe not this one specifically. The museum didn't have a sign up, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at there, but I'm pretty sure that's not a flathead. That's a flathead. This hopped-up engine is in a 1932 coupe. When the Beach Boys sang about a little deuce coupe, the deuce is the 2 in 32. So they're talking specifically about a 32 coupe like this one here. It shows the rich hop-up history around the Ford engine. Hey, what's a Ford museum without a few tractors? The eagle-eyed among you might have spotted that this one here on the right has a little something different. That's not a Ford engine in there. That's got a gas turbine in it because, reasons. Here's an overhead shot of the Ford Rotunda. That was the Ford Pavilion that I said had burned down in 1962. Here is one of the couches from that. At the time of the fire, it had been temporarily moved out of the building for some redecorating. I'm kind of a mid-century modern furniture nut, so I really like this couch probably really more than I should because it's just a plain white couch in a fantastic museum, but I don't know, I was just super fascinated by it. All right, let's go spend some time in 1936. Here is one of only 6 special stainless steel-bodied Fords. These were built for Allegheny Steel and sent to their 6 district offices. Just a fascinating car to look at. Here's a 1936 chassis, something you might see in a showroom. Speaking of showrooms, let's look at the 1936 Ford models. Let's see what was available to you and what you might want to buy. This one here looks like a normal 2-door, but in the back, you see the whole back end opens. We've seen similar stealth delivery vehicles before, and it's always a joy to run across one. Just perfect for light hauling work. Need to haul just a little more than that? You can step it up to this panel delivery. These are rare to find today since these trucks were typically rode pretty hard when they were new. This original delivery van has a lot of space back here for whatever it is you need hauled. It also sits on a 6-inch longer wheelbase than the car. Looking for something in between? Here is a sedan delivery. As the name indicates, this is on the regular sedan car chassis. So this is more like a station wagon. No, wait. This is more like a station wagon. In fact, this is a station wagon. The only 1936 Ford available with third-row seating. The family SUV wasn't quite in vogue yet, so these are more likely to be used by, say, hotels or ranches. Also not in vogue are the concrete cowboy type of pickup trucks that never see a speck of dirt, making this beautiful 36 a rare survivor. This truck is perfect for your light-duty hauling needs and is built for utility. Just look at that dash. There is nothing on there that doesn't need to be there. Here, compare that to a car dash. The car even has a clock mounted on the glove compartment door. Yeah, how fancy is that? Speaking of fancy, take a look at this 36 convertible sedan. This isn't some crude touring car. You got the windows rolled up with the B-pillar there, so you've got weather-tight comfort when the top is up. This next one is referred to as a 5-window coupe. You see it's got the little back windows there behind the doors. So counting the back window, that's 5. Now contrast that with this 3-window coupe. See, there's no little back windows behind the doors. So you've just got the 2 on the side and the 1 in the back. That's a 3-window coupe. Highly sought after car here. The 4-door touring sedan. A great car with room for the whole family and Ford's second most popular car in 1936. The first was the 2-door version. This next 36 is not a regular Ford body. This is a German-built body on a Ford chassis. This is built by Glosser Coachworks. They offered 3 distinct body styles on imported Ford chassis. This is their convertible cabriolet. Contrast that with this normal production Ford cabriolet. Following year in 1937, the German government took over Glosser, and the remaining Fords were converted over to military use. Not many of those Glosser Fords survived. Next up, we have a very rare club cabriolet. Some people say there are maybe 50 of these that are still in existence. When I say cabriolet, by the way, the word really just means convertible. You see, it's got the little back seat back there, so it's a nice, really sporty 4-seat convertible. Just a beautiful car. I wanted to point out on the cars with the rumble seats, you got the little step plate on top of the fender and on the taillight. That's how you actually get in them. Next up, we've got a convertible sedan. This is another 4-seater convertible, but unlike the Club Cabriolet, this is a bigger, a more imposing car. It doesn't have that sort of sporty look to it. The 4-door makes it easier to get in and out of, and it outsold the Club Cabriolet. It's a more popular car. Here we have the popular 2-door sedan. This is a slant back, which means the back of the car does not have a trunk on it. The back end of the car is just plain and slanted. The 2-door was priced affordably and was a popular choice for Ford buyers in 1936. Here, take a look at the trunk on this 2-door touring sedan. It's essentially the same car, only it has a little trunk back there, referred to as a bustle back these days. This is actually the most popular selling Ford for 36 because the trunk just added the utility that you needed, and it's still an affordable price. Here's a better look at that slant back. It's a cleaner lines, but yet no trunk, so up to you. Here's a 1.5-ton Ford truck with a dump bed on the back. This is a light-duty dump truck with 1.5 yard capacity. It was made by Garwood Industries in Detroit. The dump action mechanism is by Little Giant, and I don't know, it's just really cool. From this perspective, you can actually get a good look at the 1.5-ton heavy-duty rear end there, and look at all those leaf springs for heavy-duty suspension. The dump truck's name, the sign said the truck's name is Donna, not the driver's name, so that spoiled a Donna has a dump truck joke for me. Next up, we have a Ford Phaeton. This is more towards the top end of the Ford line. A lot of wealthy people would have bought this. Franklin Delano Roosevelt actually bought one of these things. The Ford Motor Company fitted it with special hand controls so that he could drive it since he was, paralyzed with polio. Unlike the cars of today, cars in 1936 came with a pretty complete set of tools for working on it yourself. Here's the Ford setup. Let's end our little tour through 1936 with the car that everybody is looking for, the 1936 Deluxe Rumble Seat Roadster. This one even has a Columbia rear end on the back. That's an accessory, gives you a little bit quicker acceleration. If you happen to see one of these in the back of a barn somewhere, drop me a line, let me know. So that was the Ford V8 Foundation Museum. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I didn't show you all the cars, so go on and take a look if you're in the area. Well worth the stop, like I said. Anyway, if you want to see some of my other videos, there should be a link right about there to see some other videos, and a link right about there to subscribe to the channel to see some more car events and museums and who knows what. Anyway, I'll talk to you later.